All right, Saturday, April 30th, 2022. This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. If you need a vehicle, you know who to see. At I am Norman James on Twitter, at Norman Oak Ridge Ford on Instagram. Mr. Augello, the Leafs have 5-2 winner over the Bruins. Tampa winning on game 82. So we are down to the playoffs once again. It feels like we've come full circle from the last time we got ready for a Leaf playoff. We were expecting a lot of big things, and it went out with the whimper. Another opportunity for the blue and white to never mind just make amends, but set themselves up for some success here in the very near future. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Norm. Yeah, well, like as we said from the first combo before the season, I think a lot of people wish they could have fast forwarded through 82 games to get back to this. I know that somebody asked Sheldon Keefe that sometime in the last couple of days, and he said no. The process of going through the 82 games and finding what this team can do and all the other things was important. And I get what he's saying, but after the loss to Montreal, I think all Leaf fans really wanted to do was get back to the playoffs and see what they could do. Now, they did not make it easy on themselves. In the end, they didn't really have much control over the situation last night. For most of the night, it looked like the Leafs were going to, in a sense, screw themselves, because I think anybody who looked at it objectively thought that Boston was the easier of the two opponents.
Yeah.
And Boston set 8 regulars. So honestly, I think Boston thought, well, I think we would rather play Carolina without Freddie Anderson, which, might be the case for the first couple games, than play Toronto at full strength.
Yeah.
And, I think Toronto probably, if, all things being equal, they would have rather played Boston. But in the end, if Tampa won, it was going to be Tampa, and Tampa won. So it's going to be Tampa. And I think this is going to be a very hard road and a very tough matchup. But, for the optimist out there, if they do win, then, they finally sort of break the seal on this 18 years of ineptitude, and then we'll see what happens. But, I'm very sanguine about their possibility of victory, and we'll see.
This is the Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. I'm Norm in London. Mike's in Cheektowaga, New York. It is a Saturday evening show. We typically do one on Sundays and then another sprinkled throughout the week. But the objective now is to do as much content following the Leafs as closely as we can, buttoned up as close to a game prior to or just after, as we go forward. And obviously, you understand the process with us. It's tied to the Leafs and their playoff longevity. We're keeping our fingers crossed that the Leafs go deep. They win the first round, the second, third, and perhaps win a Stanley Cup. Mike, the Leafs beat the Bruins to finish up the regular season schedule 5-2 without Matthews in the lineup, without Marner in the lineup, without Jack Campbell in the lineup. I'll ask you who your key players are to success in the first round here in a couple of minutes. We'll get the community as well. But was that result an indication of what could have been in the first round if the Leafs took on the Bruins?
No, last night was the Marlies versus the Providence Bruins. It was, like I said, 8 regulars out for the Bruins. So the entire perfection line, McAvoy, Grzelcyk, Taylor Hall, Eric Hall. I mean, it was a pathetic lineup for Boston, and it was a decent lineup for Toronto. I mean, they sat Tavares, Marner, Matthews, and Campbell, but they played all their defense and spread out the ice time and gave a few players like Joey Anderson and Nick Aberzies an opportunity to play. But really, the result of that game was not reflective of anything. And even Sheldon Keefe said after the game, he says, we're basically taking nothing from this game because you really didn't play. It was a preseason lineup for both teams, basically.
Okay. Okay. And I understand that, but you were a proponent of the Leafs facing the Bruins in the first round. And while neither team was fully represented, what I'm getting at and trying to, um, what I'm trying to emphasize here is the idea that Boston, at least in the first phase of the playoffs to come, would be the easier opponent, giving the Leafs an easier chance to finally get off the schneid and have that first round success.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The fact they played Columbus 2 years ago and they played Montreal, which was the worst of the playoff teams in the North last year, and you could say, what difference does it make? And Sheldon Keefe said, we respect Tampa, but in a way, it was a strange quote because he's like, tougher. I guess tougher is better or something like that. It's like, I guess what he's trying to say is, they can't expect that they're going to just walk through things and win this series. So, yeah, I'm just looking up the quote here. It says,
and this is Sheldon Keefe.
Yeah, this is Sheldon Keefe. It's a massive challenge. It goes without saying. Back-to-back champs, elite players at all positions, great depth, great experience. Obviously, it's a real challenge. But I look to our group. I think the harder, the better. That's what we need. So I don't know what that says in terms of what you need to play a team that is, the two-time Stanley Cup champion to get.
Well, the Leafs should have won the conference, Mike. They should have won the division if they didn't want to be put in this position, right? They didn't.
Well, I mean, then you want to go back to, they should have beaten Arizona twice in Montreal.
Exactly.
Yeah, they would be the President's Trophy winner if they won the game that they should have won. But, that being said, I mean, I get what he's saying in the sense that there's no dilly-dallying here. You can't expect to just show up and beat this team. You're going to have to work hard. And this team, pretty much worked hard all year. Yeah. It's just, I think the challenge of playing Tampa, the two-time Stanley Cup champions, with Vasilevsky, with Stamkos and Kucherov, with Hedman, all the things that we know. You could have found an easier way, but now they have to go through that 800-pound gorilla to get past the first round, and we'll see if they can.
So from community, youtube.com/Leafs Convo. Leafs Convo poll. Who would you rather play, Bruins or Lightning? 120 votes, and this poll went up, I don't know, about almost a day ago. 67% wanted the Bruins.
Yep.
33% wanted the Lightning. A lot of those respondents watch us and hear us, and I wouldn't say they are indoctrinated to the way of our thinking or disciples of everything we talk about. But I think they're understanding our position. And Mike, you and I don't agree on everything, but for the most part, we are in unison when it comes to the Maple Leafs, the way they play and what we expect from them. So here's the thing: you really didn't control your own destiny, but I mean, you're good enough, at least on paper, to shape a destiny. I'm wondering. Before we get any predictions, and you and I'll predict something at the end of this collaboration. You can, and I may change by the time we get back together again. It may be before game one. It may be after game one. And guys, I would definitely suggest you subscribe to the channel, or at least hit the bell icon, or keep track of us on social media to find out when we're up next. Again, it's tied into Leaf games going forward, but you never know. We may throw a surprise one in the mix. What do you think, Mike, Tampa is thinking about this matchup against the Leafs?
I think they recognize that the Leafs have a lot of talent, but I think they're also recognizing that the Leafs have this, weight on their shoulders, the pressure of, I heard, I think it was Eric Duhatschek or John Shannon on Bob McCowan's podcast. I was listening to it as I was coming back down the QEW last night, and said that the weight of not winning a round in 18 years is greater than the weight of 54, 55 years of not winning a Stanley Cup.
Who is that weight on? Mike, because
on
I
every.
don't know if the players care. The players are
Well,
thinking in the now, but is the weight just on us on social
no,
media? Are we potentially making too much of
no.
this?
I think the weight's on the players, especially after, like for example, after they lost last year, the weight was on Mitch Marner. The
But
weight.
aren't we in a society now? Isn't this a time? And again, people hate when I cut you off, but this is what we've got to do. Aren't we in a society now where it's the excuses for why you didn't do it, blaming others, are more prevalent and more accepted than putting the emphasis on what you're able to do and
There
whether
was
you're able to do it.
there was no blaming of others last year. The blame went on the players. The blame,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure that there was heat placed on Brendan Shanahan and Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe after losing to Montreal in 7 games, obviously. But I mean, it's not revisionist history. The weight went on Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner after they didn't score in the last 5 games of the series. I mean, it clearly was on the players.
But
And
it's so is it? I mean, it'll rear its ugly head, especially if the Leafs fall behind in this series and they're like shit. But we're celebrating Austin Matthews because of his 60 goals. We're talking about how great a player he is. Even the biggest naysayers in Toronto sports media, who have a somewhat of a voice on social media, are lauding the guy and celebrating his existence.
yeah,
I mean,
Austin.
is his 60? Will his 60 be enough if the Leafs? He and the Leafs don't succeed in the first round?
It means diddly squat. I mean, okay, Austin Matthews he's the favorite for the Hart Trophy. He had a fantastic year. Everybody is lauding his performance. Starting Monday at 7:30, the record is 0-0, and everybody is zeros across the board when it comes to scoring. It's what you do from that point forward. Okay, you can't say, I mean, there are players who win the MVP in the NBA, and it's announced during the middle of the playoffs. Okay, that doesn't mean that team's going to win the NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
It's about team. It's about, and
right.
That's the one thing I think is clear from, they realize this is a group effort. It's not individual. It's the team. I'm just saying it's great. I think Matthews had a fantastic year. I would, he's a great player in the just beginning the prime of his career. It doesn't matter. I mean, that what he did was great. Now he's got to show it when it counts. All of them do, because you're going to see Hedman perform. You're going to see Stamkos, Vasilevsky perform. They have the last 2 years, and they've won the cup. Now, before that, they didn't perform, and they got swept by Columbus. So it is in their, it is in their memory banks that has happened. And this is a different team that did win the cup 2 years in a row. But the Leafs got to prove that they can show up when they need to show up.
So here's the other perspective and the perception from those who believe the Leafs, this is their time. Andrew Bradley, Tampa has looked tired in a few games lately. The game against Columbus looked abysmal. Yes, they can turn it up in the playoffs, but I think they are running out of gas. The Leafs can win this thing. If that's indeed the case, Andrew, OGs, converts, first-timers, last-timers, then the Leafs have a chance. If the Leafs aren't in the same situation, right? I mean, you're gonna have Tampa fans go, remember that game? We shellacked them 8-1. They don't have the nerve to take on our team. So from the other side, you're looking at it in a different way.
Well, I would refute what Andrew says, because in the last 9 games, Tampa is 7-2.
Yeah,
they've scored over 5 goals 5 of those 7 games. Mm-hmm. The game against Columbus, they played Brian Elliott in goal, which is their backup. So I believe that was the first of, or the second of back-to-back, and then they played Columbus 2 games later, and they'd beaten Columbus, then it was the next game, and then they lost to Columbus. Mm-hmm. So it was a home and home, and each team won at home. So no, I mean, in fact, I think they've turned it on the last couple weeks. Stamkos has been scoring like buckets of points over the last month or so. So I'm just saying, like, you can't depend on Tampa being tired to be the reason why this team wins the series. You've got to go out, step on their neck, and kill them. And if you don't do that, they're going to kill you.
So here's the thing, Mike. You don't need to explain yourself to me, but to those who think you're just a curmudgeon or you're a closet anyone but the Leafs fan, explain the logic here. You in the way you assess this team, because there are a lot of people that get on me to a lesser extent now that I'm not as prevalent on social media. They just don't understand why I'm not out here banging the John Bonham gong for this team. But on my end, I'm like, geez, why shouldn't I be a skeptic? There's a lot to be skeptical about until the Leafs do something to show all of us that they're ready for prime time, right? So just your real quick, because we're not going to go on very long today, just your headspace right now. And I'm not saying that you need to quantify who you are, because you are who you are, and we love you so much, Mike. But can you do me a favor and just explain in a nutshell where you're coming from, and the reason behind it, and the hope that you have for this team?
Well, okay, I'll break it down this way. Being on the encouraging side, Jack Campbell has played closer to the way he played early in the season since he came back from the injury.
Right.
So that's encouraging.
What do you attribute that to?
Just being healthy, just being, maybe being rested.
Restart too.
Yeah, maybe. But, he played a lot more games than they expected him to play early on because of Mrazek's injury. Maybe that wore him down, but he has come back and he's been fairly sharp, and he's been closer to the October-November Campbell than the December through February, March Campbell. But that being said, if you're going head-to-head, he's going up against the guy who has won Vezina trophies and has won Stanley Cup. So advantage Tampa if Vasilevsky is Vasilevsky. Defensively, the Leafs are much better defensively than they were last year, than they were over the last 2 years. Giordano has helped out a great deal. You have Lyubushkin as a good counter to Morgan Rielly. And you have, if they go with the pairings that they went with the last few games, they have Muzzin playing with Brody. That's a good pairing. So their defense is much better. Okay. Hedman, Sergachev, McDonough, Cernak. Who's better? The team that won 2 Stanley Cups.
So Mike, on paper, they look just as good or potentially better based on their pedigree and their accomplishments. So that's where you're coming from, right?
Yes.
Like right now, it's you want to be the best, you got to beat the best.
And that's more. And Veets in the chat says Mike was more optimistic in the Andy Frost days. Are you friggin' kidding me? I was rooting for them to lose so you get high draft picks.
Can I add something? The reason you and I have been collabing for so long is because I would listen to you on Andy Frost, and you were on social media. I was on social media. I was doing a radio show for the Chorus Radio Network. Andy was doing his show for the Chorus Radio Network. So I thought, you're a caller. Why don't come on my show? You came on once, twice. This was back probably, 09-ish, brutal Ron Wilson days. So it was your curmudgeonry and your negativity that appealed to me, right? Because I just knew it would lend to a really down and dreary type of shows. And the funny thing is, Mike, the Leafs fucking sucked in those days. It was terrible. We have a lot of younger people who probably don't really remember that very much, or they were just getting into the Leafs back then. There was a reason to be terrible to the team. So where we are right now in our headspace, there's still a lot of that lingers. And when the Leafs are good and they have all these players and all of these resources and continue to fail in the way that their predecessors failed, it's hard for us to bang the drum, Mike.
But it's a different type of situation now. Back then, it's like, okay, they sucked. They didn't make the playoffs, but they were just good enough to screw themselves out of a top 5 draft pick. So, they missed out on Stamkos. They missed out on Tavares because they won meaningless games at the end of the year. And then they traded first-round picks away for Phil Kessel when they weren't even close to being a contending team. And only when they finally listened to what I had been saying for years, which was tank and get good players, did they draft Marner and Matthews, and that's the core of this team.
Right.
So now they've surrounded them with good support players, but now it's getting past that 800-pound gorilla, whether it be just the specter of losing again and again. If they can beat Tampa, then I heard somebody say yesterday, well, if they beat Tampa, they could go 2-3.
Any team could go all the way. If you beat Tampa, then you go from what?
Right.
But
the
full complement to half of that, right?
Talk about the most difficult road you could plan. It's like, okay, Tampa, then Florida.
They had a good setup last year in the first round, and look what happened.
Right,
exactly. I'm of Keith's mindset. Just play everybody. Everybody, bring them on. We're ready for them. Because the other thing too is, Mike, you can beat a good team in the first round, and then take on a team that you think you're better than in the second round, but that team has all this fucking momentum, and then you're fucked. Like, again, we don't know. It's just one game at a time. And I just want to see the growth in this team, where the Tampa's going to come at them, try to intimidate them, go, we're the champions. The Leafs have to show the pushback and take advantage of opportunities when they get them, because that'll Tampa's mindset. Oh, geez, this team might be ready.
See, the thing is, I don't think the way to refute what happened last year is reverse logic, in the sense that, okay, we played the easiest team, the team that would have been ranked 16th in the playoffs last year, and we lost to them. So let's try something different. Let's play the team that won it all. I mean,
but the schedule's set, Michael.
I know.
Go back and cry about it. It's time to move forward.
I'm crying over spilt milk now. Now it's now.
I do it every day here. Literally spilt milk by my children. I cry over it.
Now it's, how do they beat Tampa? And I think they need a miracle.
Okay.
I think they need Vasilevsky to have a pulled groin.
Right.
I look at, other than special teams, I think Tampa wins every category: forwards, defense, goaltending, coaching. Now, Keith is
the best player on the ice plays for the Maple Leafs. I mean, conceivably, right? I mean, then again, statistically too, right?
I mean, he did it in the regular season.
Okay.
I'm talking about, who's the best player in the playoffs 2 years ago, and arguably last year, it was Nikita Kucherov. Who does he play for? He plays for Tampa Bay. That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is a if the Leafs win over Tampa, I will give them all the credit in the world. I'm just looking at this series, and I think it's a Herculean task. I think they're going to have to climb K2 or the Eiger or Mount Everest to beat Tampa. And if they do, they deserve all the credit. But I look at this series, and I'm not optimistic, but maybe I'm wrong.
Robert's new to the chat. Rob, he's not a bad guy, and he's not a bad hat. It's not a bad attitude. It's just an opinion. Again, this is the thing about the convo. There's a reason why people hate us, because we don't wear jerseys and go on about how great, Alex Kerfoot is, or how beautiful Nylander is. We just don't. I mean, you have to have this variety of opinions, right? This is just us. We are who we are until our final show. I just want to go through some of these in a community, and we can get out of here, Mike, because I know you got a lot to say, but we'll have lots of time to say it as we go forward. There's Terry G had a comment here. The Leafs have more organized and defensive decor than last year. Should give them a better chance than last time, Mike.
Agreed. Again, to Terry's point, like last year, their defense was good through game 4, and then Muzzin got hurt, and then you're playing Dermott and Hall 20-plus minutes, and Dermott gives away the puck in overtime in game 6. So you have Muzzin back, and you have Giordano. So there's and Lyubushkin. There's a remarkable improvement defensively. Again, but last year, you were playing a team that played Shea Weber, Petrie, Edmondson, and Sherratt to death. They played them 25 minutes a night, and
they had to, and the Leafs could.
And they had to. And in this instance, you're going to have Hedman playing 25 minutes, but you have enough experience on the blue line, including Zach Bogosian, who played for the Leafs last year and played hurt for them in the playoffs.
That's crazy. That's nuts. Wow.
So
I'd like to get his take on who he thinks is the better team.
Of course, who's he going to say?
Yeah, and then we had another comment here that I wanted to read.
Well, Veets in the chat says, Jesus, Mike, if that's the case, why even watch the series? I'm having an opinion here. And say, okay, so it's like, yeah, I'm going to watch the series like everybody, and I will critique it as it goes. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I look at the matchup here, and in spite of the fact that the Leafs are a much improved team, they're playing a much better opponent.
I love Dyslexic. The guy's been around forever. He's been banned. He's been back. I love him. Diz, I think you're the greatest. They may, what does he say? They may well get out coached and out goalied again. Yeah. Again, keeping us honest. And I think, Mike, you're just trying to keep everyone else honest.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing is, it's like, okay, if you got two teams that are making their maiden voyage here and toss up, I can understand. Sorry, Mike, and I can understand why people wouldn't be too fond of us talking down the Maple Leafs and talking up the other team that is a contemporary. In this circumstance, the Leafs, who had a great season, are in no way, shape, or form the favorite to take on a team that is the two-time defending fucking Stanley Cup champion that has the pedigree. I don't understand why fans think we are the favorite to win. And when I say we, just collectively, we're not. But that's okay. That does not mean that we are hoping the Leafs can win. But we can't just say they're going to win because we love the Maple Leafs. We're saying what we think is going to happen because we love the Maple Leafs. I don't get why where the disconnect is. If we're wrong, good, awesome. We want to be wrong, but Mike.
Now the one thing stylistically, the Leafs and the Lightning are very similar. They both have top-end offenses. They both try to use puck possession. They try to have an offense that relies on turnovers or relies on moving the puck quickly, and that's to their advantage. They're playing a team, not that's a mirror image of themselves, but a team that is closer to the way that they play. Now, if they play Boston or if they played the Rangers, the Rangers play a defensive game and they rely on Shesterkin. And if they played Boston, Boston would match up and try to shut the Leafs down. You could have 6-5 games. You could have 5-4 games in this series, and maybe that plays into their hands. Yeah. But again, who's got more experience?
Right. Just a couple things here. So Brad Rose, if the Leafs lose in 7, it's hard fought. Is that considered a failure? It is. Of course it is. But we will derive salvation from it in some which way, shape, or form based on Nylander's second playoff in a row where he was the best offensive guy. The solidification of Marner being traded. The idea that Marner should be traded. Who knows? Like Mikheyev, a reason to sign him again. There will be things that we'll find as positive. But if they do lose again, of course, it's a failure. They can knock them down, drag them out, and just blood, sweat, and tears on the ice. And if they lose again, in the annals of history and looking back, it's another failed attempt to get through the first round. Donnie Brasco, the long two playoffs for Tampa might catch up to them. I think Toronto's a better chance, but I'm taking Tampa in 6. See, Donnie has a good head on. Again, Donnie doesn't want the Leafs to lose in 6. Donnie wants the Leafs to win in 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, whatever it takes. But I like the logic. The way that the Leafs have a shot here is maybe this is Tampa's last gasp and last grasp on greatness for a while, because look at winning 2-3. When's the last time a team won 3 cups in a row, Mike? And maybe instead of losing in the championship round to not get their third, maybe they get dumped in the first round by a team that the weight of the world is on its shoulders, and
Right.
everybody feels is going to fail again. This could have the makings of a story that nobody's expecting, and that's all right with me. But at this point right now, I'm not one of those guys saying this is the year just because. I can't say that. And I don't think anybody thinking properly can say that unless they're just eternally optimistic. And we need a few of those people in the mix too. A couple more points. I have to get to community because they put their asses on the line. They contribute when we need the contribution. So I have to give them a shout out, Mike. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, the last time a team had won more 3 Stanley Cups in a row was the mid '80s.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's not an easy climb. And, Pittsburgh won 2 in a row and then they lost. And, there's been a few teams since then that have won a couple. So it's not going to be, but that's not to say that Tampa doesn't win the first round and lose later on. I'm just saying this is a tough match. Do the Leafs have a chance? Yes. Will they win? I'm not Nostradamus. I'm just saying, like, it's not like I'm rooting for them to lose.
Right.
Show me.
But Mike, let's face it. Like, and again, this isn't a knock against the true OGs in conference. People in the chat, you guys are the ones that I'll be thinking of, right? The reason I want to resuscitate any kind of a project going forward. But the drive-by aren't listening to the entire content. It's just, you guys, no people. Do we really fully, truly listen anymore? I'm from broadcast background as a reporter for however many years. I listen. I do listen. I listen at work. I listen. I hear. I'm not nosy. I don't really give a fuck about anybody else. I just accept myself and my family and my friends. But I listen, right? I hear the whole thing, and I don't just cherry pick something that I'll want to metastasize or exacerbate and use that as leverage or as a point to make. And I know a lot of people reading in the comments do that with us because either they're not listening to the whole thing or they don't like the way we come across. But too bad for that, Mike. Okay, Mike, fast answers here. Portobello, OG, true OG, my Portuguese brother. And I'm not Portuguese. I'm honorary Portuguese. Bottom line is, if Marner and Matthews don't show up again, it's over. Plain and simple.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Again, I just don't see how under any other circumstance the Leafs pull it out. Right. If it's
they need their star players to play like star players.
Last of Us Cups, Mike. Do you have confidence in Keefe as a playoff coach? He didn't do so well the last 2 playoffs.
I don't think he got outcoached last year against Dom Ducharme. I think the fact that they lost their second best center and, their star players didn't produce. I think, it wasn't on Keefe to me that they lost to Montreal. Now he's, John Cooper has won cups. John Cooper is an excellent coach. He's going to have to step up his game. We'll see. The one thing I'll say is watch out for the too many men on the ice penalties. They took 14 of them during the regular season. That is on the coaching. If they get called for those and that kills them in a game, that's on Sheldon Keefe. But I think he's a good coach, and I think he can rise to the occasion.
One thing I don't think the Leafs will demonstrate from the get-go are nerves. They've been down this road. I'm not saying they're prepared for a long road ahead, but the nerves of the Boston series, the awkwardness of the bubble, the COVID series, and then last year they got off to a bit of a rocky start against Montreal. Then Montreal fell apart for a bit. Obviously, with John Tavares going down, kind of threw the team back. But Montreal wasn't that great. The Leafs played their normal game, and then right when they had the chance to close it out, lost their nerve, and it was done. I don't think the Leafs will have a problem with the jitters this time around. They've got to start with determination from the very first shift. None of this, get in the third period, nothing. You've really got to take it. I think the Leafs, if they're going to win the series and prove everybody wrong, sure, you'd win it by any means necessary. But with authority, right?
I
Winning
think
with authority in the first round and pounding the shit out of a team that's favored to beat you, that sends a true message.
I think they're hungry. I think the nerves are not there, and I think they're hungry.
Sure, they're hungry, 100%, and that's massive. They have to be. They should be hungry no matter what scenario they're faced with, right? So okay, from community, and then we'll give Mike the last word. Danny Grinnick, not an OG, certain convert, just ride or die with us right now. Glad to have you, Danny. He's in Connecticut or New Hampshire or something like that. He says, I asked the question on community. Okay, so it's Tampa. Are you ready? Danny, ready as I'll ever be. I have faith. Disinformation world. I saw part of the Tampa Columbus game, and Tampa looked really slow. J.A. Scott, another one of those converts. Hope for the best, but expect the worst. Life of the Leaf fan. This way, I'm not super disappointed. J.A., you're going to be just distraught if the Leafs don't do anything in this playoff run to come. Awesome Matthews, great name. I prefer being the underdog this year. We've seen how every other easy win went. Good point. Gimli, to be the best, you got to beat the best. Last of Us Clips, he's with us in the chat. It's going 7 games. Thank God we have home ice advantage. Right there. Home ice advantage, game 7 back at Scotiabank Arena could be a big deal. Cal Morale, OG. I'm ready for my 7 games in sorrow. Mr. Ted, he is an OG too. I would have liked Boston better, but if they play to their potential, may pull it off. We shall see. That's basically the crux of what we're talking about now. Colin, I predict a game 1 win. You heard it here, and we've got Felix Nook. No matter who it is, Leafs in 5. Michael, last word to you.
Tracking what will happen with Michael Bunting. I think him being in the lineup increases the Leafs' chances. Skated on Friday in the morning. I'd say it's about 50-50 if he starts game 1.
Right. So what's up with you over the next 24 hours leading up to the game?
Heading up to Etobicoke for practice on Sunday morning. Checking out what's going on with the Leafs, see if Bunting is skating and Andre Kasha is skating, and then it's time for my playoff fantasy hockey pool that I have every year, and I'm not going to reveal who I'm picking.
But you're taking Denny Savard no matter what.
No.
How the hell are the Yankees ahead of the Jays in the AL East? You know they're not. You know the Yankees aren't as good as the Jays this year. It's impossible. Not a chance, Mike. It's you. Come on, you're a smart guy. You know.
The Yankees' offense is not as good as the Blue Jays. The Yankees' pitching is much better than the Blue Jays. The Yankees' bullpen might be the best in baseball. Their rotation is it's good. It's not great, but I think their rotation is better than the
Jays. The Jays will have to pick up. I've already. Yeah. I tell my wife this, who's right into baseball. Anybody watching, the Jays will have to pick up a starter when they can, right? I don't trust Kikuchi as far as I can throw him. He's got a good fastball, but he doesn't throw it.
Exchanging Robbie Ray and Steven Matz for Kikuchi and Gausman. I don't know how you can spin that was
Robbie Ray has not been good this year, and
Gausman's
been one of the best. Gausman, dude, he's 90 over almost 100 hitters without a walk. Come on, man.
But Kikuchi is
okay. I already talked about Kikuchi, but Gausman's ready to go, man. And then Alec Manoah, and the thing is the Jays, nobody's hitting right now except for Springer, and they're pulling out these 1-run, 2-run games against really good teams. Look, the Yankees. Always, because they're the Yankees, it's their divine right to this. At some point, like they did in 2015, they may succumb to a team that's pretty hungry for it. It's going to be a real battle towards the end. But anyone writing off the Blue Jays is no, I'm not saying. But anyone doing that is just because and
the Blue Jay and the Yankees come up to Toronto and. Not using this as an excuse, but with the border situation, you'll find out which players didn't get vaccinated, and there are rumors that guys like Judge did not. So that
if you want to be a conspiracy, not get it. I don't, that's fine.
I know it. I'm just saying. I mean, I've gotten it. Everybody's gotten it. Get it, but if they haven't, then there you go.
Go to a restaurant, you put all kinds of shitty stuff in your body. You don't know who's spitting in your food, but you're not going to take something to make yours. Again, it's just. Look, I'm not
I don't
pro.
want to think
I'm
about
not pro. Like, I'm not on one of those. I'm not any either side. I'm kind of down the middle. Like, just live a decent life. If you don't want to take it, and the Leafs or the Yankees can implore their top players to take it, that's
that.
their problem, right? Nobody, the government's not going to bend its rules. The league's not going to bend its rules for a team. They certainly wouldn't do it for the Blue Jays.
Last word, the Marlies lost today, so they're out of the Calder Cup playoffs. So that means that guys like Nick Robertson and other players will be available as black aces, and they'll also be available to play if injuries hit. So
the Leafs, the Leafs organization won its Calder Cup. And teams that, like organizations that have won Stanley Cups, had Calder Cups won in the same breadth, in the same kind of era as the main success. It is time for the Leafs to have that success, even though we don't believe they're going to be able to do it. Find a way. Okay, for Mike, I'm Norm. Mike, safe travels tomorrow, and guys, lots of convo to come. So batten down the hatches, get ready, go Leafs, go Leafs Convo, go. Michael, I'm out. Talk to you soon. OG's Conference, we love you.